anybody and everything. At some point of our life, we're all going to end up needing to have advice from the disability panel, or we'll be probably giving advice to the disability panel. Do you agree that the disability advisory panel would have to be the most important panel we have, because you can be a baby, you can be from 1 day old to 110 years old, you can be, as I said, do you believe that you can be young, old, you can be Maori Pacific, Chinese, gay, you can be all of those things, and the two advisors that we currently have are doing just such a wonderful job that, do you believe that those two are the ones that we should really be trying to keep? I made it into a question.
It was a lovely question. Yes, I would fully agree with you that it has to be one of the most important panels representing up to 1 in 4 of our community, and as you say, that covers the whole of that community, and the vital need for having disabled people within council. And I am aware also that the disability advisors have a role in assisting that panel and making sure that they have an opportunity to comment on some of the most important things that council does. And so I would fully support the work of that panel and the role of the disability advisors within council. Yes, thank you.
All right. Councillor Alf.
Thank you, Your Worship. There's 2 questions, one to Nicola and also to yourself in regards to the recommendation. Shall I ask that second one straight after? Nicola, I just wanted to get, what would your comment be if people are saying that with the disability roles, you don't have to have a disability to do these roles? I'd be interested to find out what your comment would be, taking into account what you've already said around having specialised advice.
Yeah. I think there are really 2 issues, Alf. The first is that question of nothing about us without us, because the disability advisors work 2 ways, don't they? They work with community, but also with council. And so having somebody disabled within council who's explaining that gives disability community much more confidence that that message is being portrayed by another disabled person who understands what they're saying, but also because they have that lived experience, that a lot of the things that community would contact the disability advisors about would be the things that they already know about. So when you contact them about a TM card, they've got TM cards. They know what you're talking about. They know what it means to go on a bus as a disabled person. They know how to apply for it. They know who you contact if there's a problem. So not only do they have the specialist knowledge, but they also have lived it. So they do it. They don't have to go and find out from somebody else. And so, in some ways you might say that it's actually far more efficient to have disabled people in those roles because they've got the expertise by having lived the expertise, as well as they both are, the 2 disability advisors you've got at the moment, being highly qualified in the area of disability, with postgraduate qualifications in that area. It's not just that they're disabled people. I would say it's, the way that I would look at it is, not every woman could be a woman's advisor, but I'm pretty sure a man shouldn't be. In the same way that we wouldn't expect non-Māori to be on our Māori advisors. And disability community requests to have the same recognition of the expertise that living in our community brings, that it's not just another topic that somebody might learn, but that lived experience and being part of our community is really vital. And in some ways that's one of the real concerns over the new generalist roles that are being created, because to do we'll do a little bit of Pacific, we'll do a little bit of Māori, a little bit of disability. Living in South Auckland, I know that that's probably not going to go down very well in our community, people doing a little bit of, and it's certainly not going to go down well in disability community. So thank you for the question.
And Your Worship, the second question is in regards to recommendation B. Nicola said during her deputation that one of the roles, and I know I'm sort of sneaking into the operational or through our staff, but I think from me is cutting out people with a possible, well, with a disability around having to draw or having to do this. I mean, that's another thing that yes, it's around disability program, but I think that really needs to be looked at from my perspective, because if it cuts out the community, whether you have a disability or not, but if it cuts out that community, so Your Worship, it'll be interesting to sort of see if there's going to be anything coming back around the job descriptions. I mean,
Councillor Alf, you're right. This is specifically the role of the Chief Executive Officer. And so what we're asking for from the Chief Executive Officer, against the backdrop of the fact that this position has just been made clear in the public eye, and I doubt that most of us around the table haven't read anything at all, we need to be advised. And that's what we've got to get, and I don't want to presume anything from that advice. It's useful and helpful to hear from Nicola and the team today. And we will take that on board, but I think it is critical that we hear from the CEO.
I agree.
And get his report in as to what's been suggested. As a part of that, we'll discuss and raise all the other issues that have been raised this morning.
Thank you.
So hopefully the B will cover that off. Now, Councillor Penny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'd simply put my hand up to move the recommendations. B, we just need to make very, very clear that B picks up the issues that have been raised, which is the wider, it's not just the who's doing what, it is absolute clarity that the voice, access, visibility and representation of the disability community that we put in place right at the start of the amalgamation, that and however policy is going to be delivered and however the changes are being looked at, that is still being delivered. It's not our job today to second guess the Chief Executive and the restructure. We need to check back that the policy is being delivered and to ensure from a governance perspective that our requirements are met. So that, I think, is our step number one.
Yep. Okay. I've got Councillor Bill.
Thank you, Your Worship. Nicola, thank you for the presentation and for your supporters that have come along. It's very valuable to get first-hand personal information. My question would be, with the Disabilities Advisory Panel and with the work that the staff have been doing at the moment, it would be interesting for us, I'm sure for the Chief Executive, to have first-hand knowledge of the gaps. So are you able to provide that sort of information of the gaps that are and how you see them best to be filled?
Sorry, just to clarify, gaps in terms of
delivery of what is required by the people with disabilities.
Oh, where do we start?
Councillor Bill, hang on. I don't want a full-blown open discussion about disability services and how we support it. I mean, I suspect that Nicola could go on for about 5 hours about those gaps.
Longer.
Yeah, excellent.
I'm not suggesting you have it today.
So look, what I think would be most useful, and this is why I've moved B, well, I asked for B to be moved, and it's been moved, is that we take some time to actually understand what is being proposed, and we don't. So the danger of this type, and this is why I said to you I thought long and hard about this, well, as long as I had notice of, and want to have the opportunity of understanding what is proposed within the structure. And so I think at that point, I'm sure we'll see Nicola back.
That's exactly my position, Mr. Chairman.
And there will be a lot of discussion between that point and this point anyhow. So perhaps we'll just let that question sit there, because it's such a big open question.
Perhaps Nicola and her people, Mr. Mayor, could be developing that information stream now as a preload, potentially.
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised that hasn't been part of a discussion. I'm sure that has been part of a continuing discussion in the last 5 years anyhow. Now, I've got Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Nicola. Nicola, do you believe, as I do, that there is plenty of room, arguably, for Auckland Council's disability advisors to be retained inside our in-house wage and salary budget of $731 million for year 15-16, rising by 29% to nearly $1 billion by the end of the LTP period? Do you believe inside that fiscal envelope that we as governors signed off for the Chief Executive to work within, 731 million, that there is room for these positions without having any further budgetary negative impact on our top lines?
Having not seen the full detail of your budget, I wouldn't like to make a firm commitment that that would be possible. However, I am aware that, like many other disabled people, I'm a ratepayer, and I believe that I have the same right to access council services as anybody else, and I should have representation and people that I can contact within council. And I would suggest that disability affecting 1 in 4 of the population should be one of the areas that's prioritised. I suspect that a quarter of council's budget isn't currently spent on disability, and maybe that's something that could be analysed when we look at the full figures of council's budget. But I would hope whether it can be made from the existing budget or whether the small minuscule amounts in relation to the entire budget needed to be increased slightly to retain these positions, then either way, disability community requests that our needs are recognised and that our disability advisors are retained.
Thank you.
Okay, now just to finalise, Nicola, Kathy's question, can you read the preamble to that petition?
So the petition reads, Len Brown, greetings. Please save the Auckland Council Disability Advisors. They play a vital role in assisting disabled Aucklanders to engage with Auckland Council and in assisting Council to understand how to involve disabled people in so many aspects of Council's work. We understand that Council wants local communities to feel empowered, but most disability work is done at a regional level rather than at local board level. While it's positive when specific local boards want to make their work more accessible, it's often the region-wide initiatives that affect disabled people the most. We understand the current plan is to disestablish the 2 disability advisor roles, and we want you to understand the negative impact this will have on the disabled community. The current team have done a great job in ensuring that disabled Aucklanders are able to engage with Auckland Council in a meaningful way, and we do not feel the new approach would be as beneficial for disabled people or for Auckland Council. We urge you to meet with disability groups to discuss their concerns and to intervene to save the Auckland Disability Advisors.
Thank you very much. Kathy, you've had a question?
I'd like to second the motion and move an amendment to be.
It's been moved and seconded.
Is it?
So, yep, by Councillor Penny and Councillor Linda. So
amendment to be.
Sorry?
How can you have an amendment?
I don't know of any amendment.
I have an amendment to be. I haven't said it yet. It's in my mouth.
Right. And what is the amendment?
Amendment is to add the word regionally at the end of the sentence.
Oh, right.
The point that
need to be an amendment. I think that makes sense.
Yes.
Let's just put it in.
Thank you.
Yep, that's excellent. Okay, right, councillors, I'll move the motion be put. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Nicola, to you and the team, thank you very much for coming along today. And
Thank you very much for your time. Yep. Thank you.